opened his eyes slowly. His head was hurting badly. The last thing he remembered was fire and smoke on his ship. Now he was lying on something soft. Too soft. This was not the hard metal floor of a prison cell. He sat up quickly and looked around. The room was large and beautiful. The walls were made of something that looked like dark purple glass. The bed under him had silk sheets in deep red color. Soft light came from nowhere and everywhere at the same time. This was wrong, very wrong. 3 days ago had been a simple engineer on the UES horizon. It was a small human patrol ship, nothing special. They were watching the border near the Vale sector. Everyone knew it was dangerous there. The Empire was growing bigger every year. They took planet after planet, and humans were small, weak, new to space travel compared to the old empires. The attack came without warning. Warships appeared from fold space like ghosts. Their weapons hit the horizon before anyone could react. The shields failed in seconds. The engine started to die, had run to the reactor room while everyone else was fighting or dying. The reactor was breaking apart. It should have exploded. It should have killed everyone on the ship, but was stubborn. He grabbed his tools and worked like a crazy man. He used welding rods to seal the cracks. He tied wires together with tape. He even kicked the main console when it stopped working. Somehow, against all logic, he kept the reactor running long enough for the crew to survive. Then they boarded the ship. They took everyone prisoner, remembered being pushed into a dark cell with other survivors. He remembered the cold and the fear. Then guards came and pulled him out. They dragged him through long hallways. And then, nothing. He must have passed out. Now he was here, in this strange, beautiful room. The door opened with a soft sound. Jumped to his feet and looked for a weapon. There was nothing, only pillows and silk. A woman walked in. No, not a woman, something else. She was tall, taller than any human. Her body was shaped like a human woman, but her skin was different. It glowed softly like there was light under it. The color kept changing as she moved. Right now it was pale silver mixed with curious gold. Her hair was long and white, falling down her back like water. Her eyes were completely black like polished stones, but somehow they were not scary. They were beautiful. She wore armor that looked like it was made from liquid metal. It moved with her body perfectly. Behind her stood 2 guards in heavy suits, but she waved her hand and they stayed at the door. "You are awake," she said. Her voice was like music. "Good, I was beginning to worry." Did not know what to say. His mouth was dry. "Who are you?" he finally asked. "Where am I?" The woman smiled. It was a strange smile, sharp, like a predator looking at something interesting. "I am Princess of the Empire, and you are aboard my ship, the Crimson Throne." She walked closer to him. Her skin shifted to a darker gold color. "You are the engineer, the one who saved the human ship." "Step back, how do you know that?" "We watched, our sensors recorded everything." She tilted her head, studying him like he was some kind of puzzle. "Your reactor was failing. By all calculations, it should have exploded. You had no proper tools, no proper materials, yet you kept it running with welding rods and, what did our translators call it? Duct tape." "It worked," said defensively. Her skin flashed bright amber. Later, he would learn this meant she was amused. "Yes, it did. That is why you are here and not in the labor camps with the others." The labor camps felt cold inside. His friends, they were sent to camps while he got silk sheets. "What do you want from me?" he asked. Circled him slowly. She was so close he could feel warmth coming from her skin. She smelled like flowers he had never seen before. "Humans are strange creatures," she said softly. "Your bodies are weak. You live such short lives. 80 years, 90, my people live for thousands." She stopped in front of him. "Yet you fight like you have nothing to lose. You create things from nothing. You refuse to die when you should." She reached out and touched his face. Her fingers were hot against his skin. "I have read about humans, I have watched recordings, but I have never met one before. I find myself curious." I am not a pet, said coldly. No, you are not. Her black eyes seemed to look right through him. You are much more interesting than a pet. I have decided that you will stay aboard the Crimson Throne. You will be my personal engineer. And if I refuse? Smile grew wider. Her skin shifted to a deep, warm red. Then I will simply have to convince you. She knew his name. Of course she did. She probably knew everything about him already. Looked at this alien princess. She was powerful, dangerous. She could kill him with a word, yet there was something in her eyes, something almost lonely. He was trapped, he knew that, but he was also alive, and as long as he was alive, he had a chance. Fine, he said, but I want to know what happened to my crew. Nodded slowly. That can be arranged. For now, rest, eat. Tomorrow your work begins. She turned and walked to the door. At the entrance, she looked back at him one more time. Welcome to the Crimson Throne, human. I think you and I are going to have a very interesting time together. The door closed behind her, sat down on the bed and put his head in his hands. What had he gotten himself into? 6 weeks passed on the Crimson Throne, was starting to lose track of time. His life had become something very strange. He was not treated like a prisoner. His room was comfortable. The food was better than anything he had eaten on Earth. He had access to technology that made human engineering look like children's toys. They had machines that could build almost anything. Their ships moved through space like it was nothing. But he was not free. Guards followed him everywhere he went. Every time he asked to send a message to his people, they said no. Every time he asked about his, they gave him only small pieces of information. Yes, they were alive. No, he could not see them. No, he could not help them. And then there was the princess. Visited him every single day. Sometimes she came in the morning when he was still waking up. Sometimes she came late at night when he was trying to sleep. She never announced herself. She just appeared, like she had been waiting for the right moment. At first she watched him work. They gave him broken machines to fix, small things, power units, communication devices, sensor arrays. They wanted to see how a human engineer thought. Knew they were testing him, but he did not care. Working kept his mind busy. Working kept him sane. Would sit nearby and watch his hands move. Her skin would shift colors as he worked. Blue when he did something clever. Amber when he made a mistake and cursed at the machine. Gold when he finally fixed something that should not have been fixable. Then she started asking questions. Tell me about Earth, she said one day. She was sitting on his workbench, her long legs hanging over the edge. What is it like? Looked up from the broken scanner in his hands. It is home, blue oceans, green forests, big cities full of people. Do you miss it? He thought about it. Sometimes, but I have been in space for 5 years. The stars feel more like home now. Tilted her head, her skin shifted to soft violet. My people do not understand that, are born on one world and die on that same world. We do not wander, we conquer and settle, but humans, you spread everywhere. You cannot sit still. We get bored easily, said with a small smile. Bored, she tested the word like it was new to her. Yes, I think I understand bored. After that, her questions became more personal. She wanted to know about human music, so he hummed old songs his mother used to sing. She wanted to know about human food, so he described his grandmother's cooking until his mouth watered. She wanted to know about human history, and he told her stories of wars and peace, of heroes and villains. Some things made her laugh. Laughter was strange. Their skin would flash bright colors and they made a sound like bells ringing. Laughed when he told her about human superstitions. Black cats, broken mirrors, walking under ladders. You believed these things brought bad luck? She asked, her skin flickering with amusement. Some people still do. But there is no logic to it. Shrugged, humans are not always logical. Other things made her quiet. When he told her about the wars that almost destroyed Earth, she listened without moving. Her skin turned pale gray. When he told her about the plagues that killed millions, she looked at him with something like wonder. "Your species nearly ended itself," she said softly. "Many times, yet you survived." "We are stubborn." "No," she shook her head slowly. "It is more than that. My people have ruled this part of the galaxy for 10,000 years. We are strong. We crush our enemies. We build great empires." She paused. "But when things go wrong, we break, we give up, we let ourselves fall." She looked at him with those black eyes. "Humans do not break, you bend, you suffer, but you do not break. How?" Did not have a good answer. He thought about his parents working 3 jobs to feed their family. He thought about his grandmother who survived a war when she was young. He thought about every human who faced impossible odds and kept going anyway. "I do not know," he admitted. "We just do." Reached out and touched his hand. Her skin was warm, almost hot. He felt his heart beat faster. "I find you remarkable." He pulled his hand away gently. "I am just a prisoner, Your Highness. You are my guest. Guests can leave whenever they want." Her eyes darkened. Her skin shifted to deep red. "Perhaps I do not want you to leave." There was something dangerous in her voice, something possessive, but underneath it heard something else: loneliness, need. She was a princess surrounded by servants and soldiers, but she had no one who talked to her like a normal person. "Except him." "Why me?" he asked. "You have captured other humans before. Why am I special?" Stood up and walked to the window. Outside, stars drifted slowly past. "My mother, the Empress, wants to destroy humanity. She sees your people as a threat, small now but growing. She wants to crush you before you become strong." Hands curled into fists. "I have stopped her 3 times already. 3 purge orders, 3 death warrants for human colonies. I fought her in the shadows and won." Stared at her back. He had not known this. "Why?" he asked. Turned to face him. Her skin was shifting through many colors now: anger, sadness, hope, fear. "Because I believe humans are the most interesting thing to happen to this galaxy in 1,000 years. Because I am tired of my empire conquering and destroying. Because I want something new." She walked toward him slowly. "Because when I look at you, I see a future that does not have to be written in blood." She was standing very close now, close enough that he could count the tiny lights moving under her skin. "Stay with me," she whispered. "Help me change things." Looked into her black eyes. He saw the princess, the warrior, the lonely woman underneath it all. He did not know what to say. But for the first time since he was captured, he wondered if maybe, just maybe, this was not a prison. Maybe it was an opportunity. Han had not slept in 4 days. Her eyes were red. Her hands were shaking from too much coffee, but she could not stop, not now, not when they were so close. The rescue mission was crazy. Everyone told her that. The admirals back on Earth said it was impossible. Her own crew said it was suicide. The Crimson Throne was the most powerful ship in the Empire. It had enough weapons to burn a planet to ash, and was going to attack it with 3 small frigates and a cargo ship that they had filled with weapons. But was alive. Their spies confirmed it. He was aboard the flagship held by the princess herself, and had made a promise a long time ago. No one from her crew would be left behind, ever. She stood on the bridge of her ship, the UES Defiance. It was not much. Old, worn, held together by repairs and prayers, but it was hers, and her crew was ready to die for each other. Lieutenant Park sat at the tactical station. She was young, barely 25, but she was the best weapons officer had ever seen. Her fingers moved across the controls as she checked their systems for the 100th time. "Captain," said quietly, "the numbers still do not look good." "They never do." "The Crimson Throne has 200-point defense guns, 50 main cannons, 3,000 soldiers on board." Looked up at her captain. "We have 37 people and 4 ships." Smiled grimly. "Then we will have to be clever." The plan was simple in theory but almost impossible to do. They had stolen communication codes from a captured merchant ship. They would use these codes to pretend to be a damaged trade convoy asking for help. When they got close enough to the Crimson Throne, they would fire EMP torpedoes. These special weapons would shut down the flagship's shields for a few minutes, then would lead a boarding team inside, find, and escape before they could recover. It was the kind of plan that only worked in stories, but humans had been doing impossible things since they first looked up at the stars and said, "I want to go there." The mission started at 300 Galactic Standard Time. The 4 human ships moved slowly toward the Crimson Throne. On the outside, they looked damaged and weak. Smoke came from fake holes in their hulls. Their engines flickered like they were failing. Everything was designed to make them think they were no threat. "Attention unknown vessels," a cold voice came through the radio. "Identify yourselves." Press the communication button. Her was not perfect, but it was good enough. "This is the merchant convoy Silent Wave. We were attacked by pirates near the Vale sector. Our ships are damaged. We request assistance." There was a long pause, held her breath. "Your codes check out," the voice said finally. "Approach Dock 7 for inspection." Let out a slow breath. "Understood, thank you." She cut the communication and looked at her crew. Everyone was tense. Everyone knew what came next. She said calmly, "On my mark, fire everything we have." The 4 human ships moved closer and closer to the massive flagship. The Crimson Throne was enormous. It was longer than a city. Its hull was dark red, like dried blood. Weapons covered every surface. Just looking at it made stomach tight with fear. But fear was something humans had learned to use. Fear made them careful. Fear made them fast. Fear kept them alive. Now ordered. The EMP torpedoes launched silently into the void. They were small and hard to detect. They did not see them until it was too late. The torpedoes hit the Crimson Throne's shield generators all at once. There was a flash of blue light, and then the shields died. The massive ship was naked, vulnerable. "All ships attack pattern Delta," commanded. "Boarding teams prepare to launch." The frigates opened fire. Their weapons were weak compared to the flagship's armor, but they did not need to destroy it. They just needed to create chaos. Explosions lit up the darkness of space. The Crimson Throne started firing back, but its targeting systems were confused by the EMP blast. Ran to the boarding pod with her team, 12 soldiers. That was all she could spare. 12 humans against 3,000. The pod launched. It crossed the empty space between ships in seconds. It hit the flagship's hull with a loud crash and drilled through the metal. "Go, go, go," shouted. Her team poured into the enemy ship. The corridors were dark. Red emergency lights flashed everywhere. Alarms screamed in alien languages. Soldiers appeared around corners, but the humans were ready. Their weapons fired. Bodies fell. "Intel says the human prisoner is in Section 12, said through the radio. "Take the next left." Led her team through the maze of hallways. They fought through 3 checkpoints. They lost 2 soldiers, but they kept moving, always moving. Finally, they reached the right door, kicked it open. And there was, standing in the middle of a beautiful room, looking at them with wide eyes. "Captain," he said in shock. "We are getting you out of here," grabbed his arm. "Let us go." But did not move. His face was strange, confused. "Wait," he said. "There is something you need to know about the princess. We do not have time for this. She is not our enemy. She has been protecting humanity. Her mother wants to destroy us but has been stopping her." Stared at him like he was crazy. "She kidnapped you." "I know, but she also stopped 3 orders to kill human colonies. If we just leave, her mother wins. The war starts. Millions die." An explosion shook the ship. They were running out of time. And then at the end of the corridor, Princess appeared. She was alone. No guards, no weapons. Her skin was flashing white with fear and hope. "Please," she said, "wait, let me explain." Raised her weapon and pointed it at the alien princess. "Give me one reason not to shoot you right now." Looked at, her black eyes were full of something that had never expected to see on an alien face. "Love." "Because if you kill me," said softly, "you kill any chance of peace." Nobody moved, nobody breathed. Kept her weapon pointed at Princess' chest. Her finger was on the trigger. One small movement and the alien princess would be dead. Part of her wanted to do it. This woman had taken. This woman's people had killed so many humans over the years. This woman was the enemy. But stepped between them. "Captain, please," he said, "listen to her." "Move." "No," his voice was firm. "If you shoot her, you shoot me too." His hand trembled. She had known for 3 years. He was stubborn and annoying and sometimes too clever for his own good. But he was not stupid. He would not protect an enemy without a reason. Behind them, the sounds of fighting grew closer. Soldiers were coming. They had maybe 2 minutes before they were surrounded. "Talk fast," said to the princess, "and do not lie to me." Skin shifted through several colors: fear, sadness, hope. She looked at with those strange black eyes and spoke quickly. "My mother, Empress, has wanted to destroy humanity since your people first reached the stars. She sees you as insects, dangerous insects that breed too fast and spread too far." His voice was steady despite her fear. 3 months ago, she ordered the fleet to burn the human colonies in the Vale sector. Every man, woman, and child would have died. "Why did that not happen?" demanded. "Because I stopped it. I went to the War Council and argued against her. I showed them reports about human technology, your medicines, your machines, your strange ability to create new things from nothing." Glanced at. "I told them that humans could be useful allies, not just conquered slaves. And they listened. Some did, enough to delay the order." Skin turned dark gray with shame. "But it was only a delay. My mother is planning again. She will call for another vote soon. This time I will not have enough support to stop her." Lowered her weapon slightly. She did not trust this alien, but something in her voice sounded true. "Why should I believe you?" Reached slowly into her armor. Raised her weapon again, but the princess only pulled out a small data crystal. "This contains everything: records of my mother's orders, my arguments to the council, communications between fleet commanders about the planned attack." She held it out toward. "Take it. Show your leaders. Let them decide if I am lying." Did not move to take it. "And what do you want in return?" "I want to stay." He is not a bargaining chip. "No." Skin flashed blue with sincerity. "He is not. He is. He is the first person who has ever made me believe that things could be different, that my people and your people do not have to be enemies forever." She looked at with an expression that made his heart twist unexpectedly. It was the way a person looked at someone they loved, real love, the kind that hurt. "I know what I did was wrong," continued. "I took him from his ship. I kept him here against his will. I told myself it was for study, for protection. But the truth is that I was selfish. I was lonely and I found someone who treated me like a person, not a princess." She stepped closer too. Her skin was shifting to soft violet. "If you want to leave, I will not stop you. I will order my soldiers to stand down. I will give you safe passage back to human space." Her voice broke slightly. "But if you leave, I lose my only hope. My mother will win. The war will start, and both our peoples will drown in blood." The corridor shook with another explosion. Somewhere nearby, soldiers were shouting orders. Looked at, his eyes were asking for permission, for trust. "This could be a trap," said quietly. "It could be," he agreed. "But what if it is not? What if she is telling the truth? Can we take that chance?" Thought about the colonies in the Vale sector. Millions of humans living their simple lives. Farmers, teachers, children. If they attacked, they would all die. The human fleet was not strong enough to protect them. But if there was a chance for peace, even a small chance. She made her decision, lowered her weapon completely. "You have 1 month," she said to. 1 month to prove you are serious about peace. If we do not hear good news from, we will come back. And next time, we will not bother with rescue missions. We will bring every ship we have and burn this fleet to nothing." Nodded slowly. "I understand." Looked at one more time. "Are you sure about this?" He smiled weakly. "No, but since when has that stopped us?" It was such a human answer that almost laughed. "Fine," she turned to her team. "We are leaving, move out." As the soldiers started to retreat, called out, "Captain, tell everyone back home that I am okay, and tell them to be ready. Things are going to change." Did not look back. She led her team through the corridors, past confused soldiers who did not know whether to fight or stand down. They reached the boarding pod and launched back into space. The frigates were waiting, damaged but alive. They had lost 7 people in total. 7 lives for 1 man and 1 small chance at peace. As the human ships jumped into fold space and disappeared, finally let herself breathe. She did not know if it was a hero or a fool. Maybe he was both, but she knew one thing for certain. Humans did not give up. They did not accept impossible odds. They fought and hoped and loved even when it made no sense. And sometimes, that was exactly what the galaxy needed. Back on the Crimson Throne, turned to face, the princess was standing very still. Her skin was shifting through so many colors that he could not read them all. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for staying." "Things have to change," he said seriously. "No more guards, no more cages. If we are going to do this, it has to be real. It has to be equal." Reached out and took his hand. Her skin was warm against his. "It will be," she promised. "I swear to you it will be." For the first time since he was captured, felt something that might have been hope. 3 months had passed since the night of the rescue. 3 months of arguments, negotiations, and slowly changing minds. 3 months of hope and fear mixed together. Now stood in a place that no human had ever stood before. The grand hall of the neutral station, a massive room floating in the empty space between empires. Thousands of beings had gathered here today, with their glowing skin, humans in their simple uniforms, other species that had never seen before, watching from the edges to see what would happen. Today was the day everything would change. Empress sat on a throne at one end of the hall. She was beautiful in a cold way. Her skin never changed color. It stayed a perfect, empty white. Her eyes looked at the gathered humans like they were dirt beneath her feet. She had fought against this treaty with every weapon she had, but she had lost. Had done the impossible. She had turned the War Council against her mother. One by one, she had convinced the most powerful that peace was better than war. She showed them human medicines that could cure diseases they had suffered from for centuries. She showed them human engineering that improved their ships in ways they had never imagined. She showed them that humans were not insects to be crushed, but partners who could help the empire grow stronger. It had not been easy. There had been assassination attempts. 3 nobles had tried to kill in her sleep, had found one of them in her chamber and fought him off with nothing but a wrench. They did not know what to think of a human who would risk his life for their princess. It confused them. It made them curious. And slowly it made them respect him. Now the moment had come. The treaty papers were on the table. Human diplomats stood on one side. Officials stood on the other. Everyone was waiting. Captain was there too. She had been promoted to admiral after the rescue mission. Her new uniform looked uncomfortable on her, but her eyes were sharp and watchful. She had kept her promise. She had given 1 month. When good news came, she gave her another month, and another, and now here they were. "This is wrong," Empress said coldly. Her voice echoed through the hall. "We are bending our knees to creatures who live only 80 years, who build ships from scraps, who cannot even control their own emotions." Nobody answered her. The Empress had already lost this fight. Stepped forward. Her skin was a calm, confident blue. She looked more like a queen than her mother ever had. "We are not bending our knees," said clearly. "We are opening our hands. The humans have shown us something we had forgotten. Strength is not only in weapons and conquest. Strength is also in creation, in adaptation, in the refusal to give up even when everything seems hopeless." She looked at, a small smile touched her lips. One human engineer kept a dying ship alive with tools that should not have worked. One human captain led 4 ships against our flagship and survived. Humans have done more impossible things in their few centuries of space travel than we have done in 10,000 years. Her voice grew stronger. That is not weakness. That is a different kind of power, and I believe it is a power we should learn from, not destroy. The hall was silent. Then slowly the officials began to nod. One by one they stepped forward and signed the treaty. Empress watched with hatred burning in her white eyes, but she could do nothing. The council had spoken. The empire had chosen a new path. When the last signature was written, the hall erupted in noise. Humans and began talking to each other. Some were cautious. Some were curious. A few were even smiling. It was not perfect. Old hatreds would not disappear overnight. There would be problems and fights and misunderstandings. But it was a beginning. Slipped away from the crowd and found a quiet observation deck overlooking the stars. He needed a moment alone, a moment to understand that this was real. He heard footsteps behind him. He did not need to turn around to know who it was. "You should be in there," he said, "celebrating your victory." Came to stand beside him. Her skin was a happy gold color. "I would rather be here with you." They stood together in comfortable silence. Outside the window, millions of stars burned in the darkness. Somewhere out there, human colonies were safe. Ships would not come to destroy them. Children would grow up in peace. Old people would die in their beds instead of in fire. Because of them, because of this. "My advisors think I am foolish," said softly. "They say I have been bewitched by a human, that you used some kind of trick to make me love you." Laughed. "What tricks? Bad jokes and fixing broken machines." "Exactly." Eyes sparkled. "I find them impossible to resist." She leaned her head against his shoulder. He could feel the warmth of her skin through his clothes. "What happens now?" he asked. "Now we build something new. We create trade routes. We share technology. We learn from each other." She paused. "And we prove to the galaxy that humans can be more than enemies." "That sounds like a lot of work." "It will be, but we will do it together." She looked up at him. "If you still want to stay." Thought about Earth. He thought about his family back home who probably thought he was dead. He thought about the simple life he had once planned for himself. A quiet job, a small apartment, nothing special. Then he thought about everything that had happened since he was captured. The fear, the confusion, the strange friendship that had grown into something deeper. The alien princess who had seen something in him that he had never seen in himself. "I want to stay," he said, "but not as a prisoner, not as a guest, as a partner, equal in everything." Skin shifted to a deep, warm red, the color of love. "Always," she said, "forever, as long as we both live." She took his hand, and they watched the stars together. Behind them, the galaxy was changing. Old enemies were becoming new friends. Impossible things were becoming possible. And in the middle of it all, a human engineer and an alien princess stood at the start of something that nobody had ever imagined. They had ruled the stars for 10,000 years through strength and fear. But humans had something different, something that could not be measured in weapons or warships. They had stubbornness, hope, the crazy belief that tomorrow could be better than today. And they had love, the kind of love that crossed all boundaries, the kind of love that changed everything. Squeezed hand and he squeezed back. The future was uncertain, dangerous, full of challenges they could not even imagine yet. But they would face it together. And that was enough.